Think you know a lot about Elvis? Here are 5 surprising and shocking facts about the king of rock and roll that most fans don't know. Did you know that as a child and young adult, Elvis had a stuttering problem? Elvis's childhood girlfriend, Mary Magdalene Morgan, recalled that Elvis would stutter in elementary school. Quote, "He always seemed nervous. He could never completely sit still," she said. "He stuttered, but not to the point you couldn't understand him. It was like unquote. Singing can be a form of speech therapy for people with stammering issues. Some suggest that Elvis was encouraged to sing at a young age because of his stuttering problem. One example of Presley's stammering can be heard in King Creole in 1958 during a scene with Dolores Hart, who plays his love interest.
Where would you like to go?
In an interview in 1956, Elvis admitted that he stuttered. Quote, "Whenever I get excited, I stutter a little bit. I have a hard time saying when or where or any words that start with W or I." There are more examples of Elvis stuttering during his early career in the 1950s, including a performance on the Louisiana Hayride in 1955 and his live concert in Las Vegas in 1956. But Elvis never let this obstacle stand in the way of his dream to become a successful entertainer. Listen to more examples of Elvis stuttering on my website. We all know Elvis was known for his flashy way of dressing, from wearing pink clothing in the 1950s to his decorative jumpsuits in the 1970s. However, there was one flashy suit that Elvis surprisingly did not want to wear. The famous gold lame suit made specifically for Elvis became iconic when he wore it during his 1957 concert tour across the US and Canada. He also wore it on the album cover photo for 50 million Elvis fans. Can't be wrong. The gold leaf tuxedo with silver rhinestones included a jacket, trousers, belt, shoes, and necktie. Surprisingly, the suit was custom-made on the request of not Elvis but his manager, Colonel Parker. While the fans loved the outfit, which seemed to fit with Elvis's rock and roll image, the one person who did not like the suit was Elvis himself. For starters, lame is not an easy fabric to wear since it is made of thin ribbons of metallic threads. The gold pants created problems for Elvis since the gold sequins would flake off when he slid on his knees while performing. On March 28, 1957, Elvis wore the gold lame suit for the first time in public at the International Amphitheater in Chicago. However, during his concert tour, he only wore the full suit a few times. For most of his 1957 performances, Elvis substituted black pants for the gold. Elvis said he didn't like the gold pants because the creases were not flattering. He still wore the gold belt and jacket but rarely wore the gold shoes or necktie. He would later tell his costume designer for the '68 comeback special, "I always hated that suit and I won't wear it again." But luckily for the fans, Elvis's gold lame suit was preserved and is frequently on display at Graceland. One night in December 1970, Elvis had a spontaneous impulse to fly to Washington, D.C. As legend has it, the whole purpose for him going there was to try to meet President Nixon. But the truth is that Elvis originally flew to Washington, D.C. for a different reason. On December 19th, Elvis was confronted by his father, Vernon, and his wife, Priscilla, about his out-of-control spending habits. Elvis, not one to be told what to do, felt ganged up on and stormed out of the Graceland mansion in a rage. That night, he did something he had never done before since becoming a superstar. He left on his own and did not tell anyone where he was going. Elvis's fame had forced him to always travel with bodyguards and assistants. But on this night, Presley had no time to call his entourage. He decided to board a commercial flight on his own and visit girlfriend Joyce Bova, a staffer on Capitol Hill. Elvis flew from Memphis to D.C. that night and checked into the Hotel Washington. He soon realized that he was stuck at a standstill in trying to reach Joyce since he had thrown away her number after their recent fight in Las Vegas. Realizing he needed help with his search, he decided to leave Washington that same night and fly to Los Angeles to see friend Jerry Schilling. He asked Schilling to come back to D.C. with him to help him find Bova. It was during the flight that Elvis got the idea to visit Nixon at the White House. Swear I didn't think of seeing him till after I was here and couldn't find you, Elvis told Joyce. Like I said, it was on the plane coming back with Schilling that I got the idea about Nixon. Started writing a letter to him right then and there, unquote. The next day, Elvis would be shaking hands with the president. Read more details about Elvis meeting Nixon in my book, Elvis Behind the Legend. When Elvis Presley wrapped filming for his third movie, Jailhouse Rock, on June 25, 1957, the future couldn't have been brighter. In Hollywood, Elvis said goodbye to his co-star, 24-year-old brunette Judy Tyler, whom he had formed a close friendship with. He boarded a train headed to Memphis as he looked forward to spending time in his newly purchased home, Graceland. However, just a week later, Presley received some devastating news. Judy Tyler had been tragically killed. On July 3, 1957, Tyler and her husband died in a car crash in Wyoming. Tyler, who had appeared on Broadway, played Peggy, the business partner and love interest of Elvis's character Vince in the film. The 22-year-old Elvis was devastated at hearing the news. He asked Memphis DJ and friend George Klein to join him as he drove around Memphis all day on July 4th as a way to cope with the loss. According to Klein, Elvis kept talking about how good a person Judy was. He drove and talked for hours, reminiscing about every moment he'd shared with her. "Nothing has hurt me as bad in my life," Elvis said publicly about Judy's death. "All of us boys really loved that girl. I don't believe I can stand to see that movie we made together now, just don't believe I can." Sadly, Judy never got to enjoy the success of Jailhouse Rock since she died 3 months before the film was released. Elvis believed Jailhouse Rock would have been a breakthrough role for Tyler, who had previous success in theater and television. Elvis had considered going to Tyler's funeral, but decided against it in order not to disrupt the service. Although he took his parents to a private screening of the film, many believe that Elvis never watched the film again because of Judy. In the mid-1960s, Elvis started to wonder if he was meant for a higher purpose beyond being an entertainer. Ironically, right near Hollywood, Elvis found a place which could give him some answers to the questions he had about his life. According to Priscilla Presley, she and Elvis would go visit the Self-Realization Fellowship, a spiritual sanctuary in the Mount Washington neighborhood of Los Angeles. He wanted to meet Sri Dayamata, the woman who became leader of the fellowship following the passing of Paramahansa Yogananda, who wrote the influential book Autobiography of a Yogi. Elvis believed Dayamata to be a non-judgmental person, and she established a dialogue with Elvis that had a great impact on his life. "This higher level of spirituality," Elvis told her, "is what I've been seeking my whole life. I want to teach it to all my fans, to the whole world," unquote. However, Elvis confessed that he wanted a shortcut to learn how to be a spiritual teacher. Dayamata explained to him that there were no shortcuts in spiritual teachings and that he would have to dedicate his life to this field and give up being an entertainer. Elvis assured her he was willing to give up his career, but Dayamata convinced him that this wasn't the answer. "Why me? Why was I chosen?" Elvis would ask Dayamata. Her answer to him was simply to entertain. Although Presley did not pursue his desire to become a religious teacher, in private he would constantly share with his family and friends his own beliefs. He would read out loud from his favorite books and often give copies of these books to his friends. More details about all of these stories can be found in Trina Young's book, Elvis Behind the Legend, available at elvisbiography.net. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like this video to help this channel grow. Please subscribe to this channel and ring the bell for notifications of future videos. And keep watching more Elvis videos here.